Number 10, the sea spider. If you're like me and you don't like spiders living on land, well, I have some delightful news for you. They also live in the ocean. There are even giant ones that suck out the lives of their prey. Yup, they latch onto their prey for dear life and suck out any and all fluids they can get their hands on. Yay! Their leg spans are about the same as one of the largest spiders on land, such as the Goliath bird-eating tarantula. I should say they are technically not spiders, the main difference being that they carry their organs in their legs. In fact, they are almost all legs. Though they aren't very dangerous to humans, especially considering they live so far beneath the waves, they would definitely still send a chill down my spine. Thankfully, they reside in cold climate waters, mainly Antarctica. In our number 9 spot today, we have the sarcastic fringehead. The sarcastic fringehead is a saltwater fish that is fairly small. They're around 30 centimeters long and are fairly slender with very large mouths. They're pretty aggressive fish and they are very territorial. When they fight other fish, they press their mouths together and that's how they can tell who the bigger fish is, and the bigger fish just automatically wins the fight. These things honestly look like they shouldn't even exist. These fish like to make their homes in shells or small crevices, and they have even been found to be living inside of humans' littered soda cans. Luckily, they are so small, they aren't really a threat to humans, but they are just so creepy to look at. Number 8. I love this name. Gulper eels. Gulper eels, or pelican eels, is another aptly named creature as it's known for its massive balloon jaws. They are black in color and can usually reach around 2 to 3 feet in size, or sometimes double that, and live anywhere between 10,000 to 16,000 feet beneath the surface. Unlike the fangtooth, however, it does have a little bioluminescent spot on its tail to help lure prey so it can open up its jaw and swallow them whole. They also have really small teeth, so they kind of have to. Gulper eels can inflate their jaw and stomach to almost 2/3 the length of their body so they can consume prey larger than their body, hence the name gulper eels. That's a great name. That's terrifying though. Their primary source of food, however, mainly consists of crabs and shrimp and other small creatures. So if they don't thirst after humans, I shouldn't be scared, right? Wrong! What if they get tired of small game and realize the power that they are capable of? Just saying. In our number 7 spot today, we have the Atlantic wolffish. Okay, these guys are named due to their teeth, and honestly, you can totally understand why. On both the upper and lower jaw, they have like 6 sharp and strong teeth that honestly freak me out. Because of how strong their teeth are, they tend to eat hard-shell creatures like crustaceans and mollusks, and they are also important to keeping the sea urchin and green crab population in check. The wolffish like to stay mostly in one area and tend to live in near freezing temperatures. They have such a cool feature though. Because they live in such cold temperatures, they have what is basically just antifreeze running through their bodies so that they don't freeze up. Even though they look super creepy, I do have to admit that that is pretty cool. Unfortunately, these guys have a population that is quickly declining, largely due to being accidentally caught by those who are overfishing. The good news is that they are only a species of concern at the moment, which does mean that there is still time to turn it all around. Number 6, the Northern Stargazer. While the Northern Stargazer sounds like a very romantic name for someone who heads north to check out the northern lights, nope, we're talking about this guy. This deep sea creature lives in the dark open waters of the Chesapeake Bay, a region in Maryland, USA, where salt and freshwater mix. Stargazers have a flattened black and brown body with white spots along its back. This compressed exterior is perfect for the way they bury themselves beneath the sand with just enough for their mouths and eyes to be exposed so they can keep an eye on food. Once something tasty catches its eye, it opens up its mouth, creating a vacuum and sucks it down like a little snack. Its mouth faces upwards towards the top of its head and its eyes sit right on top so it can look straight up at the stars. Now the name seems clever. Look, they don't eat humans, they eat mainly little fish and crustaceans. They're pretty harmless. We should leave them alone, but imagine just for a second, you're scuba diving and all of a sudden you just see this staring up at you. That's enough to give you nightmares.
In our number 5 spot today we have the Pacific viperfish. The Pacific viperfish can be found at different areas in the ocean depending on the time of day. They usually like to stay in the bathyal zone, which is 1,000 meters to 4,000 meters below the surface of the ocean, but at nighttime they will sometimes rise up into much more shallow water because there is more food for them to eat. It's easy to pick out which fish is a viperfish because of the fact that its jaw is sticking out forward and then it has those extra long pointy teeth. The Pacific viperfish is predatory and mostly eats other fish, but will also chow down on crustaceans, plankton, and shrimp. The fish can grow to be about 1 foot long and are considered one of the most aggressive fish for its size. I know it's only 1 foot long, but hearing how vicious it is, coupled with how ugly it is, I really just don't ever want to be anywhere near this thing. One cool thing about these fish though is that they have what is called ultra black skin, and it reduces the reflection of anything that is illuminated around them so that they can camouflage themselves easier in the darkness of the deep sea.
Number 4. The fang-toothed fish. Yup, you heard that right. Yes, it is exactly as it sounds. The fang-toothed fish has a mouth full of razor-sharp teeth perfect for clutching just about any size of prey in its jaw. That's right, any size. But it's fine, they live in the deepest parts of the ocean, the deepest having been recorded at around 16,000 feet. That is until they just so happen to feel like migrating up to the surface for a little vacation. Unlike a lot of other deep sea dwellers, fangtooths do not have any bioluminescent organs to attract their prey. That is because they're not the sit and wait kind of predator and instead seek out their lunch using their excellent sense of smell. They are more active than most deep sea dwellers and heavily rely on any light that may seep into the dark home. But oh, I should also mention they're also only 7 inches long and not dangerous at all to humans, we think. Tiny but mighty, as they say.
In our number 3 spot today we have the goblin shark. A goblin shark is sometimes called a living fossil because the rest of the family that this type of shark belongs to have actually all gone extinct. Not like its mom and dad kind of family, but the family that this species belongs to. These sharks have pink skin and a long snout that sticks out really far, and these really creepy teeth that are like nails. When these sharks were first discovered by humans in 1910, the guy who was researching them wrote that this shark is certainly grotesque. They usually grow to be around 3 or 4 meters, which is 10 to 13 feet, but in 2000 there was one that was caught that was 6 meters or 20 feet long. These sharks tend to stay pretty deep in the ocean, with the adults swimming even deeper than the young ones, so they don't tend to be a threat to our ways of life, thank goodness.
Coming in at number 2, we have the anglerfish. If you were wondering what the heck that big ugly fish was in the clip at the beginning of this video, that would be the anglerfish. This bony fish is known for its luminescent horn that is used to lure other fish as prey. There are different kinds of anglerfish, but those who live in the deep sea are referred to as sea devils, which truly does feel fitting. The females are much larger than the males and can reach up to almost 4 feet, while the males can reach up to 5.5 inches. An anglerfish is able to eat prey that is the same size as itself. That's crazy! Luckily, most anglerfish remain so deep in the ocean that they are not a threat to humans, and even if they did live not so quite deep in the oceans, most humans would just be too big for them to even try to attack. So there. That sure doesn't mean they aren't crazy to look at though. If you like this video so far, let us know by pressing that thumbs up button, and be sure to follow to stay up to date on our channel. Now it's time for number 1.
In our number 1 spot today we have the colossal squid. This one already sounds like a horror movie ready to stand beside the likes of Jaws, Godzilla, and King Kong. The colossal squid is a real creature that lives in the darkest, coldest depths surrounding the waters of Antarctica. This creature lives up to its name as it reaches an average of 46 feet in size and weighs around 500 kilograms. I'm 5'5", so if it decided to eat me, it could fit 8 of me inside of its stomach, or more if I was in pieces. Anyways, they also have large tentacles equipped with suckers that have little razor hooks on them to better latch onto its prey, and let's just hope that its prey isn't you. Its diet mainly consists of large fish such as the 7-foot Patagonian toothfish, and small ones, and even consumes their own kind. But they've also been known to try and consume larger prey like sperm whales, who often have been seen with scars attributing to their battles they must have faced. If you do decide to provoke one, however, make sure it's not female. Apparently, they're the larger ones. So, to conclude, they're colossal, scary, and ambitious. What more could you want from a sea monster? At least now, if you ever wondered where the tales of the Kraken came from, you now know.
At number 10, we have the gulper eel. As you might imagine, this scary looking eel has an extremely large mouth that they use to swallow their prey whole. If that's not terrifying enough, the gulper eel is so adapted to eating large objects that its mouth and stomach can even expand further to accommodate food. There's actually not a lot known about this creature because, well, they live 3,000 meters below the surface, but from my own observations, I'm not a scientist or anything, but I can tell that I never want to come face to face with these guys. Apparently they can grow up to 6 feet long, which is not okay, and they have extremely long tails that they use like a whip in order to move through the water fast. Snaggletooth comes onto this list at number 9. Take a look at this nasty underbite. Quick, someone call the orthodontist because this thing needs to be fixed ASAP. Well, as it turns out, the snaggletooth fish uses his underbite to his advantage in order to kill his prey. These creepy fish can grow up to 2 feet long and they live in the deepest parts of the ocean. So scientists are still trying to discover more information about them. All we know for certain is they have sharp hooked teeth and they use this to snag their prey. Evolution really helped them out because in the deep sea, food is pretty scarce, so you need every advantage that you can get. And you know what? Note to self, stay away from the deep sea. And now at number 8, we're talking about the viper fish. These nightmarish fish live at depths of up to 2,800 meters, and they are mainly found in tropical waters. Thankfully, they are rarely seen by humans, so we're safe for now. One of their organs lights up, which is so cool, which actually protects the viperfish from other predators that are moving below them. The light also helps to attract prey, and they use it to communicate with mates and rivals. Now, let's talk about their teeth. Their teeth are unusually large, and when it hunts in the dark, their large teeth help to grab and hold onto their prey, so they have no chance of escaping. And when they catch a larger prey, they can swallow them by rotating their skull. The viperfish is one of the most fiercest predators in the deep sea, and the scary part of them is once they bite into you, it will be too late and there's nothing that you can do. Making our way into number 7, we have the giant spider crab. I mean, no thanks to this. Normally, I wouldn't consider crabs as like, something that is scary, but there's exceptions to everything, and there's an exception to this. This giant crab has super long legs and huge pincers. These guys are one of the largest crabs in the world, and lucky for us, they live at the bottom of the ocean.
Are basically giant underwater spiders. One big difference being that they have claws strong enough to seriously damage human beings.
These crabs can weigh up to 44 pounds and they have a leg span of about 13 feet. I mean, we're talking about their leg. Is this real life right now? I'm officially scared for life. Nothing should be that big. Oh, and get this, they will eat just about anything, including corpses. And even though these crabs are massive, they're extremely good at camouflaging their enormous bodies. And now let's talk about the razor sharp claws. They're able to move pretty fast and they're able to kill other smaller animals with ease. Their claws are so strong and large enough to pry open mussels and clams. So keeping that in mind, can you imagine what they can do to a human? Terrible claw lobster brings us to number 6. This thing looks like they came straight out of a horror movie. The terrible claw lobster has one really long, scary looking claw that kind of looks like a chainsaw, or maybe that's just me. This creature was discovered in 2010, so fairly recently, and it was found 250 meters below the surface in the waters in the Philippines. Am I the only one that's concerned that we've only discovered this thing 9 years ago? What else is living in the water that we don't know about? Thankfully, these lobsters only grow up to 3 centimeters. So they're fairly small, although they probably look big in pictures right now. So his long toothed claw might be the only thing terrifying about him. Even though this lobster is, relatively tiny, I wouldn't want to be pinched by his razor sharp claw. I'm pretty sure he can amputate my big toe if he really wanted to. Number 5, we have the sarcastic fringehead. And believe me, I'm not being sarcastic about his name. This terrifying creature can open its mouth insanely wide so that he can easily devour his prey. The sarcastic fringehead fish lives off of the Pacific coast of North America, and they are extremely temperamental.
They now compete to intimidate each other. opening their large jaws to make themselves seem monstrous.
They are fierce territorial creatures that will aggressively protect their homes. Whenever they sense danger, they will open up their enormous mouths and show their needle-like teeth in order to defend themselves. At first, they will give you a warning by flexing and snapping their jaw, but if their enemy ignores the warning, they won't hesitate to use their ferocious teeth to attack. Chimera takes us to number 4, also known as ghost sharks, ratfish, or spookfish. This strange looking creature with the really strange names, well, they live deep in the oceans, and scientists believe that they are some of the oldest fish to have ever lived. I mean, take a look at this picture right here. They have huge dark eyes. They look like they are staring directly into my soul and your guys' soul right now. They kind of look like a robot or mechanical. Most chimeras live deep in the water, which makes them very hard to study. But what we do know is that they have 3 pairs of tooth plates that protrude from the mouth like a rat. Oh, and their teeth are extremely effective at grinding shells so they can easily eat their prey. Let's just say that I'm happy that chimeras aren't interested in humans, but I guess they can evolve and things can change. And yeah, I'm like nervous laughing right now. Number 3, we're talking about the tongue-eating louse. This thing is actually super disgusting. Well, let me explain what this gross monster does. First, this creature will enter a fish through its gills. Then it will change sex while living in a parasite within the fish. And then it will attach itself to the fish's tongue. It sucks out all of the blood on the fish's tongue until the tongue just falls off. I don't even know what to do with that information. That is absolutely terrifying, and now I'm gonna have nightmares about these gross little creatures crawling in through my nose and like sucking the blood off of my tongue, and I'm probably gonna have nightmares about my tongue falling off. Someone in Belfast bought a fish from a supermarket, and when she went to prepare dinner, she noticed a large parasite in its mouth. I'm pretty sure I'd never eat another fish in my lifetime if I saw this in person. The woman actually took the fish back to the store to get a refund, and before you start jumping, to conclusions here, the tongue-eating louse doesn't pose a risk to humans, but I'd still be pretty traumatized if this happened to me. Northern Stargazer takes the number 2 spot. If you're planning on a scuba diving vacation, you might want to consider getting your money back. On this list, we've seen a lot of hideous and scary looking fish, and the Northern Stargazer is no exception to that. Judging by the name, this fish sounds pretty docile and friendly, right? Well, think again. You guys know what you guys clicked on. This dead looking fish buries itself into the ocean floor, and it will jolt out at its prey while opening up its giant mouth in order to swallow his prey whole. Well, let's watch this guy in action. That fish never even stood a chance. This is actually pretty barbaric. I'm never going underwater ever again. My scuba diving vacation is canceled. Actually, I don't even have a scuba diving vacation planned. I work too much. And now, coming in at number 1, we have the goblin shark. The goblin shark, I mean, what the heck is this? This is one of the oldest sharks ever, and it's often referred to as the living fossil because of it. A lot of this shark's lifestyle is completely, a mystery to scientists. The largest goblin shark on record was 12.6 feet long, and it weighed in at 463 pounds. But it's possible that goblin sharks can grow much bigger than that. One of its most distinctive features is its long, flattened snout, and nobody knows exactly what it's used for. But one of the most terrifying things about this shark is how they hunt. Their jaws are attached to elastic ligaments, so when a prey comes close enough, they can protrude their jaw, which allows the shark to catapult its whole mouth forward at a distance of 8 to 9% of its total body weight.
The teeth are sunk deep into the sleeve of the wetsuit, trapping the shark.
If humans were able to do this, we would be able to bite into a piece of food that is 7 inches away. Like, just imagine that. Actually, it'd be pretty horrifying.
In at number 10, we have the frilled shark. Yes, a shark with frills. Now, looking at this absolute absolutely terrifies me. It's some kind of cross between a shark and a snake, like absolutely no thank you. The frilled shark is classed as a living fossil and exhibits primitive features. Now it's around 2 meters long, so 6.5 foot. That is a big shark. It has an eel-like body with anal fins and 6 gills. Now it preys on smaller sharks by lunging at them like a snake. Ugh. These sharks can be found anywhere from around 1,200 feet deep to 1,500 feet, and the most be in the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. In at number 9, the creepiest deep sea creature with the best name, it is the sarcastic fringehead. I mean, oh my goodness, look at this deep sea creepy creature. Like, it doesn't look sarcastic at all, it looks like it's being very, very serious when it says it's going to eat you. For me, it looks like a rainbow Death Eater from the deep depths of hell. The sarcastic fringehead lives 240 feet below sea level. It is a foot-long fish, so around 30 centimeters, and they are found in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of California. Now these fish like to live in little nooks and crannies. They like to live in discarded pieces of rubbish in the ocean, and they'll pop out and come and get you if you try and disturb them. For example, this fish will engage in a mouth wrestle with other sarcastic fringeheads if they have turf disputes. Now they have a big old face. Look at that big old face. That is defense mechanism right there. They have needle-sharp teeth that could really pierce human skin if they came in contact with them, but they're not a major threat to human beings. So next up we have the gulper eel. That's right, the gulper eel. I have some kind of like sympathy with this gulper eel. It swims around the ocean with its mouth wide open, hoping just to catch some food, and I kind of feel like that's me on a Friday night after like a long week. But then the sympathy stops when I look at its face and I think, oh my goodness, you could straight up engulf me. The gulper eel lives 3,000 feet below sea level and is luckily rarely seen by humans. Its mouth is much larger than its body and it can span 2.5 feet in length, so around 75 centimeters. Whilst the gulper eel has a massive mouth, it has comparatively very small teeth, so it can only eat smaller things. Essentially, the gulper eel is just a big show-off. In at number 7, we have the snaggletooth fish. The snaggletooth, also known as star eaters, a deep-sea stormid fish. Now this fish is even creepier as it's luminous. It has a light-up red chin, guys. A physical light-up red chin. It uses this bright chin to lure in prey, which is usually smaller fish. I mean, look at its milky glazed over eyes. I just can't even. Now this fish is found at around 500 meters deep in the sea and is around 26 centimeters long. In at number 6, we have the giant spider crab. That's right. Now this terrifying crustacean lives 1,000 feet below the sea and can reach up to 12 foot long. This is the biggest crustacean in the ocean. Often called the Japanese spider crab, this snippy little snipster lives off the southern coast of the Japanese island of Honshu. Now they'll eat anything including shellfish, they can pry stuff open with their claws, they'll eat dead fish and plants at the bottom of the ocean. Now some people even go as far as to say that if dead bodies sink to the bottom of the oceans of sailors, etc., these crabs will eat them. No. Ramping up the creepy at number 5, we have the goblin shark. Yes, that is its actual factual name, the goblin shark. The goblin shark lives around 1,300 feet below sea level and is legit terrifying. This prehistoric nightmare has a family lineage dating back 125 million years. Now this shark is pink in colour, has a flattened snout, is about 3.4 meters long, so 11 foot, and hunts for fish and crustaceans on the bottom of the ocean. Now these are found around most of the world. You can find them off the coast of Australia, off the coast of North America, around the coast of Africa, and even off the coast of some European islands. Creepiest still at number 4, we have Tiburnia. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's creepy anyway. Now the Tiburnia is a red jellyfish. It's big, it's creepy. Have a look at this deep sea jelly. Instead of tentacles, it has feeding arms. Just flappy feeding arms. I can't deal with the flappy feeding arms. This big red nightmare lives about 4,000 feet down in the ocean and has thick fleshy oral arms. I can't. This jellyfish lives so far down in the ocean that we don't know a lot about it, but we do know that it's found in the Pacific Ocean. In at number 3, we have the humpback anglerfish. You know this fish, you've seen it, it's depicted in Finding Nemo. It is just as terrifying in real life, if not more so, because this is, as Landon would say, real life right now. The humpback anglerfish is often understandably called the common black devil and lives up to 6,000 feet below the sea. I am so afraid of this fish, I don't even know what to do with myself. Let me tell you the creepiest thing about these creatures. All of the males are absolute creeps. They go around the ocean looking for a female humpback anglerfish, they attach on like a parasite and live there forever, sharing sperm with her. Oh my god guys, just get off their back. Now these beasties live so deep down in the sea that we rarely see them, but we do know they're found mainly in New Zealand. In at number 2 we have one of the biggest, creepiest deep sea nightmares, the vampire squid of hell. I'm not making it up, that's its actual name, the vampire squid of hell. This hellish squid has the largest eye in the world. It has light up mucus and talons on its tentacles. Oh my god. It is actually neither a squid nor a vampire. It is more like an octopus and it eats particles of matter like marine snow. Now if you don't know what marine snow is, it's actually particles of decomposing stuff that float down to the bottom of the ocean. Kind of gross. It's actually very well adapted for its environment and it lives around 3,000 feet deep in the ocean where there isn't much oxygen. For me, I just can't get over the glowing mucus. No. Okay guys, so we have reached that point in our most amazing top 10 creepiest deep sea creatures where we have to pick the creepiest creature. Oh my goodness, the things we have seen, but there is one winner here for me. The creepiest thing I've probably ever seen in my life. It is the blobfish. Now the blobfish gets its name because it looks very much like just that. A blob. A blob with the face of an angry Yorkshireman maybe, but a blob no less. Now this gelatinous mass lives 3,500 feet down in the ocean, mostly around Australia and New Zealand. In 2013 it was voted the world's ugliest creature, and you can absolutely see why. Now its body density is actually lighter than water, which means it can float around the seabed looking for things to eat. But just like look at its face, would you invite this fish to a party? No, I don't think so.
Starting off our list in our number 10 spot, we have the Mauisaurus. These guys are a creature that was once very real, but they are thankfully a relic of our past because they are absolutely horrifying. They are named after the Maori god Maui, who is said to have pulled the islands of New Zealand up from the sea floor, so anything named after him is of course going to be an absolute ginormous beast. The neck of this creature measured around 49 feet long, which is the longest proportionate neck of any animal ever. The entire creature measured around 66 feet, so it's clear that their neck counted for a large portion of their body. But like, imagine a swimming dinosaur creature with a snake for a neck. That's kind of what these guys were like. These guys lived on Earth during the Cretaceous period, which is good news for us, but not so much for the other creatures that lived at the time. Creatures would jump into the water to avoid a T-Rex only to find this guy waiting for them. Yeah. No thank you. In our number 9 spot today we have SCP-169. SCP-169 is a bit of an enigma because it is said that it cannot and will never be contained. There's no structure on Earth large or strong enough to hold SCP-169, and while the exact location of it is currently unknown, satellite images suggest that it is located in the southern Atlantic Ocean. SCP-169 is said to be a marine arthropod of massive size and is often referred to as Leviathan. At first it was presumed that the tales were just myths, but during investigations of supposed paranormal activity, its existence became feared. The creature is estimated to have a body length of somewhere from 2,000 to 8,000 kilometers, and it is thought to have existed since the pre-Cambrian era. As far as we know, this single specimen is the only of its kind, and next to nothing is known about its lifestyle. The creature moves quite slowly at a pace of less than 1 kilometer per week, but it is currently believed that it is just adrift. In the area that is believed to be the current location of the creature, there have been regular seismic tremors detected, and this is thought to be indicative of SCP-169's breathing. These tremors cause minor shifts in the island's terrain, so it is believed that the creature is currently dormant. In our number 8 spot today we have the pacu. The pacu is a name that refers to several species of fish that actually do exist here on Earth, and they belong to the family of fish that are related to piranhas. There is one reason reason why these guys freak me out and make me feel like they're from another universe, and that is because they have teeth that literally look like a human's teeth. As relatives of the piranha, you'd think that they would have those same razor sharp teeth and the underbite, but that is simply just not the case. In a positive turn of events, however, despite their aggressive cousin and their creepy teeth, they mostly feed on plant material instead of flesh and scales, so while they're super uncomfortable to look at, they're not a worry to us at all. What if these fish have weird teeth because they came from a universe where fish have human teeth and humans have fish teeth? How do we know that there's no parallel universe where that exists? We don't. In our number 7 spot today we have SCP-3000. The area where SCP-3000 currently resides is a region in the Bay of Bengal that is around 300 kilometers in diameter. Because of the creature, any kind of deep sea diving by civilians is strictly prohibited, because if any contact is made, the humans will need to be immediately contained, quarantined, and processed for an indefinite amount of time. So what is SCP-3000? Well, it is a massive aquatic serpentine creature that resembles the giant moray eel. This one is a mostly sedentary creature, which may be due to its incredibly large size. While its exact measurements are unknown, it is believed to measure somewhere between 600 to 900 kilometers in length. This creature is carnivorous, and although it stays in one spot most of the time, that doesn't mean it doesn't have the ability to quickly snap up its prey. It is said that any direct observation, or even individuals within a certain distance of SCP-3000 will experience inexplicable head pain, paranoia, fear, panic, and memory loss or altercation. All of this being said, I think it's probably just safe to stay far, far away from this one. In our number 6 spot today we have the blobfish. I have spoken about the blobfish before, and I will again until they get the justice that they deserve. We've all seen a picture of a blobfish at some point or another. They're that fish that looks like a blob, or they kind of look like that coworker you don't really like, or the person in class who reminds the teacher that there was homework. I'm getting a little carried away, but you catch my drift. They aren't cute, and they were even voted world's ugliest animal, and while I understand why, I think the blobfish is a little misunderstood at the moment. These guys like to make their home deep in the ocean, somewhere from 2,000 to 4,000 feet, where the water pressure is much greater than it is up here. If we tried to visit the natural habitat of the blobfish, we would need some heavy-duty equipment to keep ourselves safe, because our human bodies do not like that kind of pressure. So applying this same logic, the blobfish needs the same kind of protection if it were to come to the surface. Or better yet, we could just leave them alone to live in their little deep sea lives. While in its natural pressure-filled habitat, the blobfish looks like a normal deep sea fish, when it is forced to the surface they turn into these blob-looking guys that we've all been making fun of. I guess what I'm trying to say is that, yeah, okay, these guys are from our Earth, but they're basically from the parallel universe that we call the deep sea. In our number 5 spot today we have SCP-835. This creature is a large mass of coral-like polyps, with each individual polyp being larger than any known coral species. Some have been measured to have grown over a meter in diameter. SCP-835 has a central mass that is roughly shaped like an oval, with a polyp at each end. While this creature is unable to move around the deep sea, they appear to anchor themselves down by their large tentacles that come off of the polyps. The tentacles not only anchor the creature, but they also help in the feeding process, and they are coated with a sticky adhesive substance. This creature has an extremely hard outer shell, which means that diamond drills have been needed in order to help collect even the smallest samples of the specimens. This creature has the ability to secrete a pretty toxic batch of chemicals, parasites, and bacteria, so the idea of completely cracking one open is not something that is currently an option out of fear. SCP-835 also has the ability to grow at an incredibly fast rate, but it can also slow its own growth, even sometimes halting it for a full 24 hours. In our number 4 spot today we have the Helicoprion. This is the weirdest looking sea creature I've ever seen, and I am so glad it does not exist anymore. This is a creature that once swam in our oceans long before any of us us were around. These creatures were like sharks and they grew to be around 15 feet long. Their lower jaw consisted of a tooth whorl, which makes them literally look like a cross between a shark and a circular saw. Jaws just got a whole lot more terrifying. The fossils found of these creatures have shown us that their teeth were serrated, so they most definitely were carnivores, but there has been debate about the exact placement of the teeth within the mouth. Does it matter that much though? A shark combined with a power tool is a bad combo no matter what. These animals were able to survive the Permian-Triassic extinction though, which is a clear testament to their survival capabilities, and this might also mean that they lived extremely deep in our oceans. In our number 3 spot today we have SCP-3934. SCP-3934 is a species of amphibious reptiles that see the males growing to be 1.9 meters on average and the females growing to be 1.7 meters. These guys are omnivorous and like to snack on fish and aquatic flora. This species was first created in the early 20th century with the intent to sell them as exotic pets, and while the exact circumstances surrounding their creation is unknown, it has been confirmed that some share almost identical skeletal structures with historical plesiosaurs. These guys were part of a whole marketing campaign to make them one of the most desired pets, and that just may be where the whole Loch Ness Monster thing comes from. SCP-3934 are very social animals and they love to interact with humans as well. While being created, it is said that their behavior patterns were modeled after Labrador retrievers, so it is obvious that this species also makes a great best friend for man. I mean, aside from the whole we don't live in the water thing. Unfortunately, despite the intentions, they don't make great pets as they have a specialized diet and habitat requirements that are not easily met, and this led to a vast majority of the specimens either passing away or being abandoned by those who once owned them. In our number 2 spot today we have Leviathan melvillei. These guys were a kind of whale that existed at the same time as the megalodon, so of course this means that they had to be quite a strong contender to match up to the Earth's largest predatory shark to ever exist. Their name of course comes from the Leviathan, and I can totally understand why. These are the whales that ate other whales for food. We know how large whales can be, so that is absolutely insane. These guys had the largest teeth of any animal that uses their teeth to eat. I said that like that because something like an elephant's tusk is technically larger, but elephants don't use those to eat. And they also don't eat whales, so there's that. These guys had heads that were 10 feet long and they had the same echolocation abilities as whales today have, which makes them even better and more adapted predators. Like having teeth 1.2 feet long wasn't enough, they also needed to have a few special skills. While blue whales are currently our largest animal on Earth, I don't think they would have been able to stand up to these prehistoric whales. In our number 1 spot today we have SCP-1128. This SCP is a little different than the other ones on today's list, and that is because it is more of an etheric entity. This creature has the ability to manifest itself as an enormous aquatic predator, but only to those who have been given its full description of the appearance, so I'll try to refrain from doing that today. People who have been infected by the creature won't really show any symptoms or abnormal behavior, but it is possible that they might show extreme aversion to going into the water. If an infected person enters the water and is fully submerged, no matter the depth, they will completely disappear underneath the surface of the water. Some of the time they will reappear a few moments later in a state of total panic, frantically trying to get out of the water, but other times instead of reappearing above the water, you'll instead see blood and debris cloud the water, with the debris later being able to be confirmed as the vanished person. The lucky ones who have survived have explained that while they had vanished, they were transported to the vast ocean where they were actively being pursued by SCP-1128. I don't know about you guys, but I don't ever want to encounter SCP-1128.
Number 10, the frilled shark. This is one of the most stealthiest sharks in the sea. This shark is so stealthy that researchers believe that it had been extinct for 80 million years. Little did they know, it's just very good at hiding. The frilled shark is a deep sea dwelling creature that was rediscovered in 2015 when 2 Australian fishermen caught it in their net. Frilled sharks kind of look like an eel, a shark, and a hairbrush kind of had a baby. It has a long, slender body that slithers through the water in a very serpenty way. It earns its name due to the 6 gills it has on either side that fan out in an unusual way. But the really scary part is how many teeth they have. They have over 300 mini daggers in their mouth, angled backwards like hooks so they latch onto their prey like Velcro. It is one of the few creatures on Earth to be considered a living fossil because it happens to be the only one of its kind. It has no other relatives, which if you're someone who doesn't like their in-laws, not really a bad thing, I guess. Number 9, massive amphipods. If you love jumbo shrimp, then oh boy, this would be a treat. Massive amphipods have been found in the trench. They kind of look like massive shrimp, which is a direct result of a phenomenon called giantism. The massive crustaceans can grow to over a foot long in the Challenger Deep, while the ones closest to the surface only reach about 3 centimeters. The reason they have gotten so large is a part of their strategy to help them survive the immense pressure of being a deep sea survivor. A group of molecules called a piezolyte were found, and they help stabilize proteins against hydrostatic pressure. This helps them survive and could have a hand in helping them grow to be so large. Number 8, glass amoebas. In order to live that far down into the ocean, there are going to be 3 main things that you'll have to overcome: lack of light, freezing temperatures, and a lot of pressure. Therefore, intense survival skills are required. Scientists were shocked to find Foraminifera, a kind of amoeba, surviving down in Marianas Trench, but with some alterations. This kind of organism is found all over the world, but usually they build hard shells for themselves out of calcium carbonate. Down in the trench, the intense pressures dissolve these minerals, leading them to instead build a kind of glass house. They have adapted to use proteins, organic polymers, and even sand, which is made from silicon dioxide, which forms a kind of pressure-proof glass shell. A specific kind of foraminifera called xenophyphores have taken this one step further and glue sand, casts of shells, and microbial skeletons to their feces, which essentially makes a pressure-proof shell to live in. Gotta do what you gotta do. Number 7, the barrel-eye fish. This fish looks like Pixar teamed up with Tim Burton and made this fish up. It looks like an animation floating in the water. Nothing makes sense. Someone once said to me that if you've thought about it, chances are someone's done it or that it exists. I imagine that's untrue for most things, but I've definitely thought about what it could be like to have a see-through body, and this fish brought that thought to life, so who knows. The barrel-eye fish has a head that is entirely see-through. It was originally presumed that they only had tunnel vision because any specimens collected would die before they reached the surface and their head would collapse. But now scientists are able to confirm that they actually rotate their eyes to look up through a fluid-filled shield, which is their head, to check out prey above them. They also have fins specifically adapted to allow the creature to hover frozen in place. Their eyes are also designed to capture light just enough to see silhouettes of their prey, so they have really incredible eyes. Weird. They look so pretty though. I like them. Number 6, benthocodone. The thing that fascinates me the most about the creatures in the Marianas Trench is their size and appearance. Why? The water pressure at the bottom of the trench is about 8 tons per square inch, about 60,000 pounds per square inch. You'd think to be able to stand that pressure you'd have to be like Godzilla or something, but that's not the case. It's close to the exact opposite. The benthocodone is a deep sea jelly that is entirely opaque and floats around in a deep red hue, pretty delicate and really small. The opaque bell serves as a way of hiding its food in case their bioluminescent lunch signals other predators. It has over 1,500 tentacles, and despite its little size and delicate flesh, it can survive the immense pressure of the deep. So figure that one out. Number 5, the stout black smelt. This deep sea dweller has also been dubbed the owlfish due to its eyes. In comparison to its body, its eyes are like pretty massive, and we can guess why. The stout black smelt uses its massive eyes to help capture any light it can lay its eyes on. The eyes have cones in them, have like narrow cones that help them suck in as much light as possible, kind of like a vacuum for light. It is a feature they definitely need while they continue to live at depths of over 6,600 meters. Not too much else is known about this little guy, save for the fact it definitely can't stand against a squid. Here's a video of this poor fish losing a battle with a squid. Check it out.
Owlfish are predators that feed on small crustaceans and jellies. They have enormous eyes to help them find their food in the dim light at great depths.
Number 4, the anglerfish / the nope fish. This is the most terrifyingly ugly fish in the world. There are over 200 species of anglerfish that dominate the midnight zone with their terrifying good looks. Each are similar dark brown and gray in color with massive heads and mouths decorated in sharp translucent teeth. The largest species can reach up to 3.3 feet in length or significantly smaller, less than a foot. They are the horror movie villain of the deep with tricky bioluminescent lures. Thanks to these horrifying creatures, Finding Nemo almost had a grimmer ending. Despite their size, the mouth of the anglerfish is massive and, like a python, can stretch wide enough to consume prey twice their size. Considering there's absolutely no light, it's cold and lonely, I guess it makes sense that they are a little angry. One can't afford to make friends out of fish when their next meal could be days away, so fish aren't friends, they are food. Number 3, Dumbo octopus. I love it so much. Weird cute is the best combination. Okay, fight me. I'll just show you a picture of this. Meet the only cute thing to live in such a dark place, the Dumbo octopus. The Dumbo octopus, as you can guess, resembles Disney's adorable Dumbo elephant, as it has big fins that look like ears on either side of its head and just like whoop flings around. These fins help this floating boopity boop steer through currents. They try so hard. While they vary in color and size, they usually reach around 20 to 30 centimeters, so they're really small. While some have also been found to almost reach 6 feet, so that's like one you can hug. Sadly, you won't come across them in shallow water, as these cute water babies are only found around 400 to 4,800 meters below the surface. Since where they live is so dark, they don't need an ink sac to defend themselves, so they don't have one. But honestly, who would want to attack this little guy? Look at those eyes. Puss in Boots can take a seat. Number 2, the tripod fish. Can we talk about how this fish looks like they are an alien standing on the moon? Kinda, sorta, yeah? Anyways, yes, that fish is literally standing on the sand. The tripod fish is yet another fish that has adapted in a strange way to live in the deepest, darkest depths of over 6,000 meters. Another tiny but mighty example, it can only grow to about 3 centimeters long, while its long, bony fins can extend to a meter, allowing it to stand. Researchers estimate that fluid is pumped into them, which allows them to become rigid so they can actually prop themselves up. If you're wondering why they want to be taller, ask yourself that question the next time you purchase a pair of heels. By standing tall, it's got the best vantage point to capture prey such as small crustaceans. As they float in the current, the tripod fish can just open their mouths and catch them like snowflakes. However, it is practically blind due to its habitat, so its fins sense vibrations to anticipate predators, so otherwise it just kind of waits there for food. Number 1, last but not least, the Mariana snailfish. Though it doesn't look like it could withstand pressures of 1,000 feet below, the Mariana snailfish proves yet again the age-old phrase of never judge a book by its cover. Meet the deepest fish in the ocean, which thrives at 8,000 feet below sea level. Though they look small, fragile, and slightly translucent, these little guys are actually the top predator at this depth. With few predators, they get the cream of the crop when it comes to food down there. They kind of look like white fat goldfish with a long narrow tail. Its flesh is so translucent you can even see its liver through the skin. Compared to some of the other creatures on this list, it definitely doesn't scream robust survivor, but has adapted in a new clever way scientists are still trying to understand.
Starting us off with number 10 are zombie worms or bone-eating worms. Now this creature can grow up to being 2 inches long if it's female, whereas the males are microscopic. Now despite being worms and not sounding all that scary, they can eat rock-hard bones of animals 1,000,000 times bigger than them, like whales. They secrete acids that allow them to access the inner contents of the bones, and then the symbiotic bacteria converts the bone's proteins and fats into food for the worms. They have feathery branches all over them that help pour oxygen into the worm so it stays alive. They can be found at the depth of around 9,491 feet, feeding on the carcasses of dead whales. I'm okay with worms, but these worms I cannot do. Coming in at number 9 is the vampire squid. It's incredibly fast, incredibly pale. It sparkles in the light. You know what it is. The vampire squid. But if you said Edward Cullen, I wouldn't be mad either. Now the vampire squid is the last surviving member of the Vampira morphida, and therefore they share qualities with both the octopus and the squid. It uses its ear-like fin to swim, and its jellyfish-shaped body helps it swim fast. They can grow up to being 30 centimeters long and vary from being a pale red color to being jet black. When they're on the hunt, they use the photophores covering their body to light up in patterns that confuse their prey. When they're the ones being hunted, wanted, they pull the webbing between their tentacles right over their head and just hide in there kind of like a cocoon. Kind of like I do when I'm having a depressive episode, just in my cocoon. At number 8, we have the deep sea hatchetfish. Now, I don't ever use the term fugly because I think it's so rude, but this sour-faced looking fish is actually fugly. The hatchetfish is quite small. They only go up to 3 to 12 centimeters long, which is actually nothing. Hence, as you can imagine, they're quite an easy prey. Despite being disadvantaged by their size, their camouflaging techniques makes them basically invisible to predators. They produce light from their stomach, making them bioluminescent. They control how much light they emit by how much light is in the water at the time. If you reveal your silhouette, then it's game over, so they try and match the light levels in the water so they remain hidden. They can be found anywhere between 50 meters below the surface to 1,500. Filling on number 7 slot is the ping pong tree sponge, aka the chondrocladia. Honestly, when I first saw a picture of the sponge, I thought it was a bunch of balloons on a stick, but I mean, I refuse to judge the creature by its name or its balloon-like structure, so let's get into it. It's thin and long and has little translucent balls at the end of it which look like ping pong balls, hence the name. However, they're actually dotted with tiny hooks, meaning if any prey gets too close, they'll become trapped and then the sponge will just start eating it alive. It is legitimately a flesh-eating sponge that's found 2,700 meters under the surface. Now, at number 6 is the Dumbo octopus, scientifically known as the Grimpotethys. Now, from the name, you can probably guess that this creature kind of looks like Disney's Dumbo the elephant. It has floppy ears on the side, deep-set eyes, and 8 short, tiny tentacles, and honestly, it's quite cute. I wouldn't mind finding that if I was deep underwater. However, you guys know me, I'll never be deep underwater. It can be found at least 9,800 meters deep in the trench, and I kinda want to hug it. The Dumbo octopus can grow up to being 8 to 12 inches big, and they actually travel through the water by flapping their ears. But don't be fooled by their cuteness, because they can still swallow their prey in one single gulp. So I mean, coming in at number 5 is the frilled shark. Now, you guys know how I feel about sharks. I refuse to look at them. I don't even want to think about them. I really wouldn't mind if they went extinct, but that's just me. Now, the frilled shark is one of the ugliest variations of the mammal that I have ever seen. They have a snake-like body, but they sort of look like eels and boast a set of 300 teeth, which is insane. Despite living so deep, at least 5,000 meters below the surface, the frilled shark was actually one of the first deep-sea creatures to ever be discovered. I don't know how, since they're so deep and frankly terrifying, but facts are facts. The name is inspired by the creature's frilled gills. They've been dubbed a living fossil, so they have very primitive looking features, and honestly, when you look at it, you'll know what I mean. The thing looks like it's been alive for 1,000,000 years, and it's on its last breath, and hopefully, for my sake, I hope it is. Mic drop. At number 4 is the deep sea dragonfish. I feel like the deeper the creatures are, the uglier they get. Like, why is that the rule of this video? The dragonfish has oversized teeth, slippery skin that looks like an eel's, and a hideous face. Reaching up to 6 inches long, they can be found between 700 to 6,000 feet below the surface and are known as an assassin. Like most deep sea creatures, the dragonfish is bioluminescent and not only uses it to hide from its predator and prey, it also glows in order to communicate with its own kind. They're ugly because they have this whisker-like lighted barbell coming out from its lower jaw that other fish think is a meal, so they just come closer and closer thinking they're gonna get their lunch, and they're not. You know why? Because it's a trap. It's a trap. Filling on number 3 slot is the barrel eye fish, and this fish made me laugh so much, I don't even know why. For some reason, it just looks like it's so done with life and it's just so over everything, like it's just so mad at the fact that it's a barrel fish. It's like, why me? And you know for a fact if it could talk, you know it'd have those deep voices and would just take way too long to even complete a sentence. Either way, first things first, this fish has a transparent head. Let's just talk about that. It has 2 barrel-shaped eyes that point upwards, allowing it to see the silhouette of all its prey. They can be found between 400 to 2,500 meters deep, and scientists theorize they have transparent heads so they can get a bit more light inside. Personally, I just think this one is kind of cute. Now, at number 2 is the telescope octopus, found at depths deeper than 6,500 feet. These octopi don't swim horizontally, no, they actually suspend themselves upwards. That makes it harder for predators below below them to see their shape. They're almost completely transparent, and the reason they're called the telescope octopus is because they have two protruding eyes that not only rotate, they also allow the octopus a much wider peripheral vision. Honestly, they're also kind of cute and small, and their eyes are tiny. They're just very cute little creatures. The octopus, it looks like one of those toys you'd get in a McDonald's Happy Meal. I know this because I have eaten many McDonald's Happy Meals growing up. It's my go-to order, my chicken burger, gotta have it. And finally, at number 1 is the goblin shark. Now I think this creature is by far the ugliest one on the list, which may be why it takes our number 1 spot, I'm not gonna lie to you. Also known as a living fossil, this species is 125 million years old and can be found at depths lower than 4,300 feet. They can grow anywhere between 10 to 13 feet long, and the most prominently ugly thing about them is their snout. It kind of resembles a sword, and its jaws not only protrude, they extend when eating. If that isn't horrific enough, they also have 30 to 50 teeth on their upper jaw and 30 to 60 on their lower. The goblin shark uses sight, smell, and electroperception to track down their prey, but you don't know that much about them since sightings of them are so rare.